Hi, welcome to Around Town with your host, me, Jim Fazio. We talk about things that happen around town, around Lawrence, Methuen, North Andover, the surrounding towns. Today we have a special guest that is going to talk about a movie star that was born right next door to us in the city of Lawrence. Her name was Thelma Todd. It was during the 1920s. She was in silent films and then later in talkies. She was born in 1906. So put the math together, and that makes her over 100 years old. My guest today is Joe Bella. He's going to talk about Miss Thelma Todd. Joe, how you doing?
Very well. How
Welcome.
are you?
Thank you for coming, Joe.
And thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. So you have quite a bit of nostalgia pictures and stories about Thelma Todd.
Yes, I was quite fascinated with her years ago. Actually, I was working with one of her distant relatives in Lawrence, the state employment for years. And this person would tell me stories of her family, and her father's side of the family was the distant relative of Thelma's. And then I was involved with different organizations, in historical organizations in the city, and at times Thelma's name would come up for one reason or another. And then I was made president of the Friends of the Lawrence Heritage State Park here in the city. And the Heritage Park, we'd like to bring out the historical people, or native Laurentians, one way or another. For example, Leonard Bernstein and his 100th birthday this year, in fact.
Right, really?
And then, so I decided, why don't we do something that has not been done since Thelma Todd's passing in 1935, and that's to name something after her in the city. Again, nothing, it's like she's almost forgotten.
Wow.
And then on Facebook one day I noticed Thelma Todd fan club. One of the constant visitors on the site mentioned, why doesn't Lawrence have something named after Thelma Todd?
Because she was born here.
Exactly.
Right.
And so I thought, well, and I was at the Heritage Park, and they have a theater on the first floor. In that theater, they show free movies, films, some historical Lawrence events, for example, the 1912 strike. They'll show that to visitors. They're open from 9 to 4 every day. And that is the only remaining theater in the city of Lawrence at this time.
Wow.
The last theater left.
Really? Yep.
And I thought, well, the theater has no name. Why don't we name the theater the Thelma Todd Theater? And
That's a good idea.
and there was space to put a marquee above the entrance to the theater. So I decided to visit the Essex Art Center on 50 Island Street. They recommended a couple of local artists, one in particular from Amesbury, Jason Aislinn. He came to visit, he saw the site, and he drew what he thought would be an appropriate marquee. And I had given him pictures of the old Broadway theater on Broadway, and he used that as the frame of what he did for us.
So we got the idea of that through that picture of the marquee. Yep.
And we had a dedication last Sunday of the Thelma Todd Theater marquee on her 112th birthday.
Wow.
Very, very successful. And there's the Rumbo, latest Rumbo has the
Oh, that's this here, right?
copy of the event.
That's right. Oh, yes.
Very well attended.
Well, the first thing I see on this Rumble is it's a picture of, looks very familiar. Is that you?
In a tuxedo.
I guess, you do a lot with this in the city of Lawrence, and you know a lot about different stuff besides her.
Yeah.
So, and the marquee is in here, you said, right? The picture?
Yeah, page 6.
Oh, okay, let me look.
Yeah, on the top
Page
section.
6.
Page 6 is the...
There it is, right
And
there.
it's quite large. And
I don't know if can you see it or not. But
and right above the
where am
name...
I? Oh, yeah. Page 6, right here. Right. Yep.
Right above the name is the painting that Mr. Aislinn did of Thelma's face. He painted that on. And it's from a painting
that face
my
right
late
there.
cousin had done years ago
Really?
of Thelma. And
Wow.
so we used that, and he painted that on.
Wow.
Very successful event. So now we have something named after Thelma Todd.
You did it. You
all
finally
these
did it.
years.
That's good. Good for you.
And we've been celebrating her birthday for the past few years anyway.
Right.
And I think next year, her birthday falls on a Monday, but Saturday we tend to have more of a reception
Right,
from the
right.
public. So next year, Saturday, Thelma Todd's birthday, everyone's invited, free popcorn and movies.
Does she still have relatives still living in the area? Or?
Last year's birthday, 6 or 7, close to 7 relatives
Really?
attended, which I didn't know about until halfway
Yeah.
through the filming.
Did you get to meet them?
I met them all,
Nice.
and I was quite excited about it because I didn't know they were coming.
Really?
It was a surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has relatives, New Jersey now, around the eastern part of the country, and then locally, North Andover and Andover, South Lawrence, Westford, Julie Todd.
Huh.
Yeah, Julie Todd.
Wow. It's funny, I never heard of this woman until you brought it up once we were having coffee together. And it sounded really interesting. And then you had this theater dedication, which was really nice. I mean, it's amazing. Never even knew we had, well, Robert Goulet was from Lawrence too,
Right,
also.
exactly.
But this is going back farther than Robert Goulet.
Yeah.
So I think it's really interesting. And you also have some nice photos of
few
her
things.
here, don't you?
Well, I brought her hat.
Okay, let's show her hat.
I purchased this several years ago from another collector, and he purchased this from the family. So this was her hat,
Yeah.
and it's a tam. Primarily, it's a tam. And I'm not sure. I wasn't told, but I think she might have purchased this when she was visiting England to film a movie in 1934 called "You Made Me Love You," starring Ida Lupino's father, Stanley Lupino. And together they made this movie. And she did visit Scotland while she was in England filming. So that was 1934.
The hat's in good condition.
Yeah.
You keep it preserved,
And
don't you?
I had the actual bag that it came in.
Yeah.
And so again, this belonged to Thelma.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Yep, it's a beautiful
And you
piece.
also have some photos here you want to show, right?
Yeah,
Which one, you
there's
want to show this one first or that one?
that one first. That's
This is a photo of,
Thelma and Zazu Pitts. Thelma had made shot films with the Hal Roach studio. And her first co-star was Zazu Pitts. And she was a perfect match. And they did only comedies for the first few years. And then Zazu's contract wasn't renewed, so they got in someone else, and that's her there.
The next
Patsy,
one?
Yeah, Patsy Kelly took
Okay.
over from Zazu.
I'll be the picture holder upper, okay?
That's good.
right.
That
At
helps.
least I can do something, I
know,
guess, huh? Do
so-
something right? There
Right,
you
so
go.
there's both autographs, Thelma Todd and Patsy Kelly.
Now, Patsy Kelly's in this picture?
Yes, she's on the
On this
on
side?
the right. She's on the right if you're
On this
behind the
side?
camera.
On
No,
this side?
Yeah,
This side, okay.
your left.
Yep.
They're right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Patsy. To me, Zazu was the funnier of the two comedians with Thelma. And I think Zazu, her films worked. They clicked much better than Patsy. Patsy was okay, but I think Zazu was the funnier of the two comedians.
And these are their autographs here,
Yes.
too, aren't they?
Yeah, they're the exact autographs.
Wow.
Yeah,
That could be worth some money.
a little bit.
Good for you,
And they,
Joe.
well, if you check eBay, yeah, they are
Yeah.
kind of pricey now.
Yeah, really.
This I purchased at the Cape at a shop in,
Glare.
let's see, I think this way.
There you go.
Yeah, 1989, July 3rd, 1989. And this is from one of her movies she made with the Marx Brothers, Horse Feathers.
Oh, wow. She's in that movie?
Yep, and she signed this in 1934.
That's interesting.
My phone, yeah, purchased July 3rd, 1989.
She's a pretty woman.
She was beautiful.
You're
Yep.
in love with her, Joe.
If she came up to me today and said, hi, I would say, would you marry me?
Yeah, yeah, really.
She was gorgeous. She was gorgeous. But
Wow.
she was married for just a couple of years to Pat DiCicco, Italian
I
gentleman.
shouldn't say Italian guy.
Yep. And it didn't work out too well. A couple of years they were married, and they divorced
Hold it up
later.
if you have to read it. It's all right.
Yep.
We don't
So
mind.
I brought. Why don't we want to do the large?
Oh, yes. We
Okay.
have these down here. You can show them that one.
Yeah, this is Thelma's paternal family, and what I'll do is I'll point out her father, John Todd,
You can
which
actually
is
see it.
this guy here.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
is he? Oh, this one.
Joe, let me hold it over here.
Oh,
And you can hold it like this.
Okay.
All right, that way they can see.
that's John Todd. These are his brothers.
Mo, Larry, and Curly?
Right. And this is John's, Thelma's grandparents, grandmother, grandfather. And the family came actually from Belfast, Ireland, so they were Protestant Irish. Aunt and aunt, two sisters.
Who's
John.
the guy that looks like Smith Brothers?
Which one?
The guy with the beard right here.
This one?
No, the bushy beard.
That's Thelma's grandfather.
Oh,
Grandpappy.
okay.
Yeah, that's the Todd. This is
thought
the
it was-
entire Todd family,
Wow,
as they once looked
what a big family.
way back. Yeah. And the father was alderman of health and charities in the city of Lawrence for a few years till he passed in 1926.
Oh, her father was even involved in Lawrence.
The city
too.
of Lawrence. Yeah, health and charities.
Wow. And this
Now-
is
This is one of 63 lobby cards and posters. 'Cause this I had to have copied. The original was in rough shape. So a local photograph shop copied this. I brought this primarily to show that this was the only movie Thelma made full-length feature film that she starred. It wasn't a comedy, it was a drama. And Hollywood found out that Thelma's success was primarily due to her comedic roles, not drama. So the film was okay, it wasn't the best.
so this was a talkie film.
Yes, oh yeah,
And was it in color?
no,
Oh,
black
okay.
and white. But she got top billing in this one.
Right.
All the other full-length movies, she only had small parts.
So should have been a comedian then, right?
That's what they,
Well, she was with the Marx Brothers, so I would think.
yeah. To me, comedy was her thing, and Hollywood tried to tell her that. But again, she did try some drama. Didn't work out.
Really?
She was better suited for comedy. Marx Brothers, Burt and Woolsey, a couple with them. Laurel and Hardy, she did a
Yep.
couple with them.
Yeah.
Although one of her first features was a Western way back.
With Roy Rogers?
No, Gary Cooper,
Oh.
called Nevada.
Oh.
Early, and it was a silent. It was a
Silent film, yeah.
William Powell was a co-star, and a few other early actors. And again, that was a silent, but it was I think it was one of her first westerns
Really?
back then, and it was early, young Gary Cooper.
So when she first started, it was a serious role, like
Well, her very first movie she had made called Fascinating Youth. And the actors and actresses were comprised of the Jesse Lasky Paramount Players, which was a school in Long Island, New York. And Thelma attended that school shortly after graduation from Lawrence High School and winning the Miss Lawrence and Miss Massachusetts contest in 25, 26.
wow.
And she wanted to, at first, be a teacher. So she attended the Lowell Normal School, and she actually taught 2 classes of a certain subject, I think history and math, but she didn't get her certificate. And she was convinced by friends and a representative of the Players School who was in the audience when she was Miss Massachusetts, convinced her to attend this school in Long Island to be an actress.
So she had to go to acting school then.
Yes, first.
Yeah.
And that was in Long Island. And
Right.
these people were, these students, I guess you'd call them, of the school were prepped into acting. And again, their first film was called Fascinating Youth, and which Thelma had a part. And when it was premiered at the Palace Theater on Broadway in Lawrence, Thelma was actually brought to the theater in a limousine, and some of her family members attended. And she did speak before the film, which again it was her first feature film.
So was it the premiere at the Palace?
The Palace, it was a silent movie,
Yeah.
and she did speak to the public then, and she was quite young. And again, a limousine brought her and the family, and I have a newspaper article on that.
Wow.
Now, you have to realize that Thelma did perform a couple of early movies. And these were movies that she didn't get any billing, and they were made by the Aurora Film Company, which was in Methuen, but it was run by 2 Italian brothers, Peter and Rosario Contarino. in the early 1920s.
Contorinos.
Contorinos, and they had a theater on Newbury Street, right off Essex, called the Cosmopolitan. They only showed Italian movies. Because when my mother was a little girl, she was born in 21, my grandmother would take my mother to see Italian movies at the Cosmopolitan Theater. It was a small theater, not very large.
My mother mentioned something about the Cosmopolitan
on
also.
Newbury Street next to the alley.
Yeah.
And then the Contorino brothers, with money and monies, they were able to purchase cameras and so forth. They opened a studio on Wisner Parkway, which is off of Merrimack Street, East Street, pardon me, off of East Street in Methuen, large building, and they decided to make silent movies. One of the first was The Life of St. Genevieve, and it was a period movie. They needed like knighthood background. Mm-hmm. And where did they go? Searles Castle, which is now a presentation of Mary.
Right.
So the outdoor scenes were filmed on Lawrence Street in front of Searles Castle for that movie. And Thelma had a part in that movie. I think there was they used to have a showing at the Cosmopolitan where they would ask locals to try to rehearse so that they could use them in their silent movies.
Look at that. So
Thelma,
they use them as extras.
Yes, Thelma attended that showing. And then the second movie she was in was called Tangled Hearts. And that was quite successful. But unfortunately, Thelma never got billing at all. And she must have been quite young then.
She must have been.
I suspect.
Really?
Again, that was filmed at the Aurora Film Studio on the Wisner Parkway in Methuen. Unfortunately, during a hurricane of '38 or something, the building was destroyed and it was demolished. But they made only 4 movies, the Contorinos, and they were shown Boston, Lawrence, and New York City. I don't think any semblance of those films exist at all.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately.
Huh.
But I do have a newspaper write-up of the Contorino brothers, not mentioning Thelma, but one of the brothers did claim before he passed that Thelma was in just 2 films, 2 silents.
Really?
The Life of St. Genevieve and Tangled Hearts.
That's a shame that she wasn't billed for
No,
it.
I know it. And she must have been really quite young.
She had to have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
She
The
had to have been.
Aurora Film Company. And,
I never knew there was a film company in...
well, like I said, I've been reading up on it, and I found some newspaper
That's interesting.
pieces on it.
And you're talking back in the...
20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a little bit before my time.
And a lot of the actors and actresses were local Lawrence people, believe it or not. So most Italian. Louis Drago, D-R-A-G-O, was featured top billing in a couple of the silents for the male parts.
Wow.
I think he was from Italy, did some acting there and came to Lawrence. Louis Drago, D-R-A-G-O, he's listed a couple of times on those movies. So the movies were shown Lawrence, Boston, I think, and in New York City, primarily. And I don't think any semblance of those movies exist to this day.
Are any of her movies, if anybody wants to download a movie or watch it on YouTube, or is it available? Do you know of anywhere on the internet?
They could check on Thelma Todd Fan Club on
Facebook.
Facebook.
The fan club would know, on Facebook.
Thelma Todd Fan Club. At times they do. Actually, they do show her movies. YouTube primarily would be a source.
That's right. Yeah.
And what else? I was thinking of something else. YouTube. Oh, the Heritage State Park shows them, but unfortunately they don't sell them.
Oh, but they do show them.
They do show them.
They have showings every so often?
Yeah, every day between 9 and 4 p.m.
Oh.
Just front desk, ask to see a Thelma Todd, either a full film or a short.
Yeah.
The shorts are all comedies, 15, 16, 20 minutes, the most. And those are the funnies. Those are the comedy.
And the people can go where? Where is it they can see this?
At 1 Jackson Street and Canal Street.
In Lawrence?
The building used to be an old boarding house.
I saw that building. I've been in this building.
The
It's
Washington Mills.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a museum of basically Lawrence history.
It's interesting. I had never been in that building until the time that I went to go see the show about the city of Lawrence.
That's John Delisle.
Yeah.
Mr. Delisle.
Yeah, and I had never been in this building before, and it's amazing all the different historical things they have in there. It's incredible. I enjoyed it, and I'm not one really like to enjoy that, but it was interesting.
It's informational.
It was interesting.
It's very informational.
Yes.
And again, the movies, besides Thelma Todd, we also show, for example, the strike of 1912, which we had the anniversary, 2012 was the 100th anniversary. There are films of Lawrence history that one could easily view at any time between 9 and 4 p.m. They're basically open every day. And I think New Year's and Thanksgiving and Christmas. Then the rest of the time, it is open. And,
Wow,
yeah,
that's pretty good.
free of charge, no charge whatsoever.
No charge.
Yeah.
So it's a free thing to see.
And it's run by DCR from the state, and they take care of the building. And my friends group, we're advocates for the park. We help support the park either verbally, sending out letters to the state asking for help on certain issues, or financially.
Right. So you get funding. That's what
Exactly.
you get is funding,
Yep.
which is good.
Yep.
It preserves the place.
And we're always looking for new members, friends of the Lawrence Heritage State Park, new members. Once you're a member, you're informed of all the events throughout the year.
Now you're a member, of course.
I'm the president.
You're the president. Well,
Yeah,
did you hear that?
I joined several years ago.
He's the president. Wow, cool. I like it.
Yeah, we have,
I know somebody very important then, don't I?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too, huh? Okay.
I'm still a collector.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow, that's pretty interesting.
right. Now, I do have some other items of Thelma's.
Okay.
Again, Fascinating Youth was her first venture into into filmdom in Hollywood.
Into filmdom?
I think she made between 119 and 120. I see the total figure changes at times.
Movies?
Shot and full,
Wow.
119.
That's pretty
Busy
good.
girl. She was a busy girl.
Yeah, I guess she did get pretty famous then.
Started in silent, and then when she did the talkies, I guess her voice was suitable for the talkie
She had a pleasant
venue.
voice.
Now, I do have some nice, interesting pictures of Thelma living in Lawrence as a young girl, very young girl.
Can you see these pictures okay?
Now, I don't know who the other people are. I think her mother was in one of them. I think this is her mother here in Thelma.
And who's the young man with
I
her?
don't know, but she's playing like she's
Like she's
married.
married.
She's getting married.
Wow, this looks like something from the Twilight Zone.
But the family always stayed in South Lawrence. Baldwin Street, Andover Street, and a couple of other streets. The father never owned their home. They always rented.
They always rented.
Yeah, they never owned.
Now, was that their house in the background, do you know?
I don't know. I'm not sure on these
okay.
pictures.
Because you're supposed to know these things. Too.
No, and here's a young Thelma, very young.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and again, South Lawrence. These would be all South Lawrence. Now, she had an older brother, William. Unfortunately, he was involved in a terrible accident in Vermont. One of those hay shredders. He fell into it.
Oh, really?
He was
What a way.
killed
Oh, my
instantly.
God.
And she actually saw that occur. She never forgot that
That's
either.
a trauma.
Yeah. Here's another young picture
Picture
of
of
Thelma.
her.
Yeah, in Lawrence, South Lawrence.
I'd like to
And
look at those after.
She was born in 06, so this would have been between 06 and probably 1910, 11, around that time period. Because she's quite young in these.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. And again, this is the family. Oh, there's her brother, William. And he was, at the time, he was 7 there, and she was only 3, I think.
That was the one that was killed?
Yes, terrible accident in up Vermont. They were visiting family or something. Now, her mother was from Canada, but she was English. Edwards, his maiden name. She wasn't French-Canadian.
Yeah.
Some people thought she was. But
Yeah.
No, she was definitely English from Canada.
Yeah.
And married John Todd.
Did she ever have any kids? Do you know?
Thelma?
Yeah.
No.
Never any
No.
kids?
No. Too busy making movies, I guess.
so, yeah.
Making films. And these are other either family members or neighbors in the area at the time when these were taken. Very early pictures of Thelma Todd.
Yeah.
Very early.
Nice.
Yeah, South Lawrence.
Very nice.
Now I do have her parents. Oh, her birth
We have a
certificate.
birth certificate, don't you?
Yes.
The original birth certificate?
Yep, the address was 306 South Broadway. Now, where the house was, because the house no longer exists, the house was
Flipped it this
located on the the east side of South Broadway before the old train station. There were tracks there now. And General Tire was there for quite a few years after the building was taken down. And that's where Thelma was born.
Wow. But that's her original birth certificate.
Yes.
Hey,
From the City Hall in Lawrence.
nice.
Yeah. 1906.
Wow.
Thelma Todd. So she did make, like I said, quite a few movies. The silence, there aren't too many of her silence in existence, and some of it probably has to do with the quality of the film that they used. Due to, I guess, some of it deteriorated and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. Sure.
Yeah, it was. Some of it was pretty bad quality. Unfortunately, they found out about that too late.
Yeah.
But there are some of her silent movies around for sale, even.
That's good.
Yeah. Then, like I said, she made movies with Clara Bow, the full-length movies with Clara Bow, and unfortunately, she wasn't in them too long. She had bit parts, so to speak.
Okay, now who is Clara? What's her name?
Clara Bow was also started in silence, ended up being a very popular screen actress of the time. And she transitioned also from silent to talkie. She was pretty risque in her time.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, there's
I didn't
a movie.
think they had risque in those days.
Oh yeah, before the codes were put through.
Yeah.
There were certain scenes that now they would be considered
Right.
risque-ish.
Right. All right. Before we go, Joe, people can go see this marquee that's still there at the Heritage,
We have
right?
beautiful lights. They flash. It's beautiful.
So you suggest that people would go see this? They'd find it interesting.
Between 9 and 4 p.m.
Yep.
Monday through Friday,
And
and
it's at
Saturday
the-
and Sunday.
It's at the Heritage Park?
Lawrence Heritage State Park on Jackson Street at the corner of Jackson and Canal. Used to be it's one of the only 2 boarding houses left in the city on that same
Right, yeah,
area.
right.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yep.
Joe, thank you so much. I mean, it's been very interesting for me, and I'm sure it's interesting to the audience too. But if you have any questions, go down to the State Park, Heritage State Park in Lawrence, and you can check this place out. It's really, really nice. But again, thank you for tuning in today, and we'll see you next time around town.